My favorite word is an Irish name that translates into English as she who intoxicates. Dispensing emeralds to a worn rock breaks on me now like a riding wave, that name so redolent of mead and slaughter, whose single syllable exudes odour and salts the sands of shell-encrusted caves with arms and glinting sovereignties of water, calming tribute shores, O my newborn daughter, bloodied and aloft, warrior queen of Connacht, let me drink once more the royal name, Maeve. The West's awake. Bonsoir Dublin, ça va, oui? What I'm going to do is, seeing as it's a music night here, a poem about what I used to get up to under the covers when I was about 10 years of age. I'm sure most of you have had a similar experience. It's about listening to the radio as a child. It's called Diogenes. Whenever I have a poem I think isn't very good, I give it a classical title to make it sound a bit classier than it is. So, when 10 o'clock lights out was called, I pitched attentive sheets above my head to nurse a mute transistor radio, my first. Pitch black, that canopy, until I switched to on and lamps came up all over Europe. In that firmament, supported by my knees, I was an undercover agent of Marconi's, daring at last to edge the volume up just a little, convinced that on that random frequency, some outlandish weather forecast from another time zone was being broadcast. A yearning love song or stern national anthem, or the last report from some news bulletin tantalizingly beyond earshot. Sometimes the sounds came crisp as crystal as when chimes of church bells carry on the wind, but often there was nothing save a hiss. And then I sped, frantically through stations from spire to minaret, spinning a web of sound with my spinneret, blurring the mercury-illuminated dial. It was like fleeing from abandoned Babel. That receiver was a compass in binnacle to guide me over life's waves, trough and pinnacle. A lit-up spirit level that kept me stable through rock or twist or swing. Radio was doom for my closed-mindedness, death of taboo. While Ruane, Naveen and O'Donnell Abu stood sentinel on night, I broke the curfew to sleep with freedom and woke to the patter of a continental DJ and the clatter of my family from the breakfast room. Thank you. I've got two more to do. This first one's about the feel. I can see you as an audience are probably too young to have experienced this. I'm not. Okay. Basically, it's that feeling. Have you ever had it? You're walking down the street, a city street, and out of the blue, you see a face, the face of somebody that you once were very close to, but whom you haven't met in a long, long time. And you realize that you're, in the words of Paul Simon, still crazy after all these years. Still crazy. I saw in a middle-aged stranger's face the fine-drawn, darling features of a girl I'd loved in college. Full lips, arched brow, brown eyes that mirrored my straining and my squinting incredulity as we waltzed our way, as if on casters, towards one another. It hardly struck me if she'd changed that much, though she must have. Time had crumpled and folded back onto itself like her yellow scarf. For the few minutes that we ranged and squabbled over and rearranged, the autumn lived together and the decades spent apart. You've got a memory like a sieve, she said. Later, I wondered if this looming mug had shocked her in its grizzled, garbled state, or if it still retained some of that boyishness from days when our affections at full gallop had shied at the first high gates of commitment. But since I'm not the sort to spend my nights undergoing by windows the metallic and meticulous surgery of moonshine, or one to sift through memories of hair, tawnied and winnowed by an evening breeze and the cornfield-loving light of September, to curious mates, I just laughed the whole thing off. Evidently, she'd no regrets, I said. She was far too happy to see me. What about you, they asked. Regrets? Regrets are what the French discuss over baguettes and filtered coffees and unfiltered cigarettes. Thank you very much. You've been a most attentive audience. You might be drunk or asleep. I'm not. You look attentive to me from up here. And I want to leave you with, it's become, for better or worse, my signature poem. A lot of people have had difficult childhoods. My childhood was idyllic, perfect in every way. The worst thing that ever happened to me was when they changed our telephone number from 6 digits to 7. Anybody else feel that pain? Yeah. It's the worst. And I thought I'd have to write a poem about it. And it would have to be, obviously, a lament. And so try and help me through this if you can, because it gets a bit emotional. And the poem is called 255 242. 255 242. A balanced phrase, synonymous with home and days of perfect length. An unencumbered sound estate. This easily remembered line of poetry, hidden in a huge tome, could spell me back from rusting spoke-filled hallways to the oak desk and the cast iron chair. Evoke my name for old friends anywhere. Its incantation was auspicious. Always 255 242. But even while the apparatus slumbered, the bands were read, robotically intoned by electronic clerics of the telephone, announcing that its days as a single entity were numbered. Soon it must stand, preceded by an 8. I took it badly, I admit. How strange that loss is often preferable to change, that love's less blind than unrequited hate. 8, 25, 52, 42. My palindrome, a chasmic seizure, a dactyl swallowing anapist. All of its poetry ceased to exist with the lumbering arrival of that extra and primordial figure, as when you met your childhood sweetheart with her new fiancé. And her voice had that syncopated rhythm. Engaged, she said. Do ring. But now you can't get through on 255 242 without that fucking cipher in the way. And yet, you're still reluctant to leave it. Some people take the landline numbers with them when they move house. I can well believe it.